right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's March, almost April. Hope everyone is doing okay. I'm just going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to do a roll call of members. So Violetta,
Here.
Daniel,
Here.
Sochi,
Here.
and Rachel. I'm here. Daniel, are you all good to do minutes? Do you need more time to set up, or are you all right?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Okay.
Hey.
All right. And so I'm going to go ahead and share a link to tonight's agenda in the chat. Oh, Monica's here. Great. And so let me just make sure get everyone. Carol's here. Hello, hello. So if you can see on the agenda, I would like to nominate a permanent member to the committee. I'd like to nominate Dr. Plunkett. If anyone wants to second that.
Yeah, I second the motion.
Dr. Plunkett, do you accept the nomination?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Then.
I'm sorry I don't have my camera on right now. I'm kind of in my car, so
No
you
worries.
won't be able to see me. You'll only see me.
It's all good. That's great. We're glad to have you here. Okay, great. So then I think that's it. I think that we're, five members now. And
Don't we all have to vote on it?
oh, yes, we do. Sorry. Thank you, Daniel. Okay, so I guess vote to approve Dr. Plunkett as a permanent member. Okay. So Violetta?
Yeah.
Daniel?
Yes.
Sochi?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm a yes. Rachel's a yes. Okay, great. So then I guess we can, as 5 members, approve today's agenda, or I make a motion to approve the agenda. Can I do that as chair?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. Okay, I make a motion to approve the agenda. Okay. And
Rachel, are you sharing the agenda?
yes, I can share it again in the chat. There it is.
Was that Violetta? Who was second?
Yeah.
All right, so we can do a vote on the approval of the agenda. So Violetta?
Yeah.
Daniel?
Yes.
Sochi?
Yes.
And Dr. Plunkett?
Yes.
And Rachel's a yes as well. Okay, great. 5 minutes into the meeting. That's not too bad. All right, so I was thinking we did this last time and I thought it was great. If we could just quickly share, there's not too many of us here, there's only 12 of us, so I thought we could take a few minutes to just share with everyone in the Zoom space who you are, and I think who you are and how you've been getting through the week. If there's anything that's been helping you get through this week, that would be great to share as well. And then just whenever you go, just pass it to the next person. I don't know if that's like a formal way to do it for public meetings, but if anyone objects, let me know. We can change it. But so I'll just start. My name is Rachel, and I'm a LSC community rep at Jones. I chair the committee, and I'm also a student at UIC. And I have been biking a lot more recently because it's been warmer, and that's been really helping me get through. I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Florence.
Hi guys, my name is Florence. Can you guys hear me? Yes, okay, cool. I'm a student at Jones College Prep. My pronouns are she, her, and what's been getting me through this week is that spring break is next week. So it's just the home stretch, just one more day tomorrow, and I can finally have a break. I can pass it to Trinity, if that's okay.
Yeah, hi, I'm Trinity. I'm a senior at Jones. My pronouns are also she, her. What's been getting me through this week is, well, also the idea of spring break, kind of just figuring out what I plan to do and like thinking about how much sleep I'm gonna get. That's gonna be really great. That's kind of propelling me forward right now. I can pass it to Miss Lalogan.
Sure. Cindy Lalagan, I'm a teacher here at Jones, and I think I'm going to say the same answer that our students are saying. I am just holding on to spring break. So I'll pass it to Daniel.
Sorry, I'm a junior at Jones, and I am a member of the committee. And what's been keeping me throughout, he, him pronouns, by the way, and what's been keeping me throughout the week is like old time music, like really old, like 1950s for some reason. But yeah, I'll pass it on to Zochi.
Hi everyone, my name's Sochi. I'm a community member in the 25th ward, and I'm also a member of the Health and Safety Committee. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and what's been getting me through the week, I started to work out, following some good workout videos on YouTube, so that's been keeping me going. I'll pass it to Amy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy. I'm a parent of a junior at Jones. My pronouns are she, her. And what's gotten me through this week that's different is that my son is home from college. So it's been nice to have him home for a week. Missed him.
You're muted, by the way.
I have to pass it to Monica.
Oh, hi, I'm Monica Lasky. I am the parent of a senior, and I'm not through the week yet. So, but here's what I will say. I have been dealing with fabulous Jones student advocates who are so inspirational and articulate and don't back down and don't take crap from anyone. And that is what is getting me through the week. And I will pass it to Cassie.
Hi, I'm Cassie, she, her pronouns. I'm a Jones parent of a freshman and LSC chair, and probably shouldn't admit it at a health and safety committee, but I think coffee is really getting me through the week. Yes. Violet, do you want to go?
Hi, my name is Violeta Sierra Prado. I'm a community representative on the LSC. I'm a multicultural studies reading teacher for 9th grade, and I also chair our reading department at my high school. Well, at the high school I teach at, even though I do look like a student. But my getting me through the week is also spring break. But I'm excited to catch up on like my personal emails because I've been just so bombarded with like student and family emails within the last couple of weeks. Our semesters or our quarters ending, so grades are a huge thing right now. I'll pass it to Dr. Plunkett.
Hi, I'm Dr. Plunkett, and I'm one of the assistant principals at Jones College Prep. It's been pretty, not just crazy week, but crazy year so far. So I would say, particularly this week, what's getting me through the week is probably, along with what some other people said, a lot of coffee, some extra shots of espresso, and I have just had some wonderful interactions this week with members of the faculty and also so many students at Jones, either via a Google Meet, a Zoom meeting, or just even emails. So I'm just like so grateful that I am lucky enough to work for such a wonderful group of students. And I will pass it to, let's see, Carol.
Hello, I'm a parent of Jones Jr. and I count on my dogs to get me through most week. I have one of them with me here. And Also, I was pleased to hear the town hall meeting last night. That was very hopeful. So I was glad to hear that. And I will, am I the last one?
I think so.
I think I might be the last one. Thank you.
Great. It's great to get to hear from everyone. And so that was one agenda item. So the next thing is getting into some of the meeting reports and some topics for discussion. And so we are kind of, I just want to get this out in the open now. There is a LSC meeting at 7:30 p.m. tonight. And so we're going to try to keep things moving tonight. And so if it feels like we're running through things too quickly, just let me know and we can slow down a little bit, but that's kind of where we're at. So the first item on the agenda is actually a petition that was started by a Jones student that I'm going to share in the chat right now. And it addresses a CPS policy around absences that basically is questioning if we can maybe interpret absence policy to include mental health considerations.
Yeah. Hey, Rachel, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm really sorry. So just to, and I want you to share the petition. I believe the student, sent the petition. He also sent a follow-up email. So I also want to share the follow-up email that he sent because I think there's a lot more to this than just a petition. So I also want to read, I can't share because I'm on my phone, but I can read the email. So I also want to share the follow-up email that was sent by the student as well. So I just want to make sure that that's not overlooked.
Sure, definitely. I would, if you would like to share what the email, the follow-up email.
Yeah, I can read it right now. Just give me a moment.
Sure.
So I don't know, were you going to share the student's name or not?
I would, yeah.
I'm not going to share the student's name. I really don't want to share the student's name, but he did send an email to the leadership at Jones, and he said, I would like to apologize for not having a conversation with you prior to starting my petition. It was a mistake to name Jones and Dr. Powers in the position without consulting any members of Jones administration. I hope that this situation is not seen as an attempt to bring awareness of an often discarded issue that plagues many people of color, including many in our own school community. I am identifying more efficient ways to make an impact. Apologies again. I don't think the student really understood the absence policy, especially like at Jones. So, I want you to share the petition, but I would also like to speak to what the Jones absence policy is and when students are absent, what constitutes an excused absence. So I just want to make sure that we address this in the correct light with positive intent.
Thank you, Dr. Plunkett. That's useful to know. And I think something that the petition helped me become aware of actually was that there are two bills in the Illinois General Assembly right now that kind of speak to the state's absence policy and to ensure that this is included in the interpretation of absence policy. And so I kind of, that's as the petition is being shared and talked about at the district level, I'm just going to put those two links to this to the bills in the chat that actually Cassie made me aware of. So thank you, Cassie. It's just kind of thinking about how this can be taken, to encompass more than just, Jones students. And Monica, did you want to add something?
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Oh, so I've been talking to students about this just because this was brought to my attention, perhaps because people, even though I don't officially sit on this committee, students know that I'm interested in the work of this committee. And a couple of things, Miss Dr. Plunkett mentioned that people might not understand the Jones absence policy. And that's been eye-opening for me. What I have learned in talking to students and parents is that many students and parents do not understand how to excuse their students from school. And to the extent that they do understand, they find the process cumbersome and burdensome. And I have to say, as a person who feels that I do understand it and have taken, utilized it, even I have found, I agree with those sentiments. And I'm a native English speaker and so forth. So I've heard from students that, their parents don't speak English, though there isn't a way for them to call, the policy isn't clear. So I think we have a general disparity in terms of how this policy is impacting students of different backgrounds, depending perhaps on, what language their parents speak, or the education level or access to tools. So that's one thing. And then the other thing that I heard from students is that it would be very helpful for them in terms of dealing with their parents if even if the Jones policy currently allows for absences on the basis of mental health, they feel like that's not clear to their parents. And that there's a stigma perhaps around a mental health absence. So I think they're looking for support from the administration in communicating with their parents as well. That's what I heard from students.
That's great, Monica. Thank you for sharing that. And I can definitely understand how the absence policy might be confusing for parents, and how parents might not feel that how to phone in. And honestly, that is something that we've been working on, of how to excuse absences. And unfortunately, CPS has all of these district policies in place. As far as for a Jones student, if a parent calls and says, my student isn't well, and we don't really pry, or if they write a note or an email, whatever it is, we're not going to pry to find out, is it a mental health issue? Is it strep throat? Is it the common cold? Are they, we're not going to pry on that. If a student and or a parent wishes to share that, that's fine. But a parent can call and excuse their students for those reasons, right? If you're not well, I think having dealt with these things, like being sick doesn't necessarily have to mean, or being not well doesn't have to mean that you're not well physically, like you have the flu or you're coughing. It could just mean that you're not well that day. And I think that is a lot left open to interpretation.
Dr. Plunkett, I have always understood that to be the case, but what I'm hearing from students is their parents do not understand that.
Correct, right. And I agree with you. So maybe we need to make that clearer. And I think sometimes, and this is maybe, I think the way sometimes information is messaged out. So we can definitely make that clearer. And I also know that there are certain teachers who maybe, and I understand that as a teacher, they get frustrated when students are missing lots of work, but I can speak from experience. We have always at Jones, any student that I'm aware of that was absent for lengthy periods of time because of mental health issues, we have always worked with them. We have worked with the teachers to make sure that the students do not feel that there's any stigma around this. So I think maybe more of, rather than working on excusing the absences, but making sure parents understand that it is okay. And also, I think a big piece is taking away the stigma, right? I think too often there's a stigma associated with, a student has anxiety or a student has depression, and that's not why they're here. I'm just throwing those out. There's lots of reasons. You could just be having a bad day. And I do think that we have to make sure that we are clearer in our messaging if that makes sense. So I do agree with you that maybe parents don't understand that. And so we'll make sure we can clarify that.
Thank you both. Sochi, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add also making sure that like teachers understand that. Like I think it's one thing that the admin would understand, and like, you know, as you mentioned that they may not need a lot of detail, but I would also, in situations where teachers do ask for some sort of evidence, like a doctor's notes, a letter, or maybe more specific information, specifically if the student does need to make up work, needs to ask for an extension for that. So I think
Yeah.
including
Sochi,
conference. Yes.
thank you so much for bringing that up. And I will make that like an actionable item for me to do, to make sure that teachers understand that, you know, if a student is excused, you know, and I mean, I can tell you, there are many reasons why students have excused absence, and sometimes they don't want to share it with the teacher, and they really don't have to. I mean, if they want to, they can, but they don't have to. And I will make sure that that is clearly communicated to the teachers, right? That if a student's absence, if it's excused, you know, then it's excused. But I do want to clarify that in order for absences to be excused for whatever reason, whether it's personal, you know, a family issue, mental wellness day, a sickness, whatever the reason is, in order for it to be excused, you know, it has to go through the proper channels to be excused. So I think that's where we need to work to make sure the absence is excused at the front end, so that the teacher doesn't look in and say, oh, you have 3 unexcused absences, I'm not letting you make up the work. So we do have to make sure that absences are excused so that the teacher can just leave it. It's an excused absence and I'll let you make up the work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe, can I add, Dr. Plunkett, perhaps something that would be helpful? I created a form form letter that I just like changed the date like every time for an absence. I'm wondering if the school made a form available, like for use on an optional basis, but maybe that would be less daunting for parents.
We have a form available where, especially if a student has a bunch of absences that were maybe not excused for whatever reason. I mean, sometimes the parents will send a note, and this is when we were in person. The parents will send a note, and then the student maybe forgets to turn it in and then loses a note. And so our attendance clerk does have a form that she uses, she gives to the students, where the parents just have to sign it basically, right? They put the date, like you're saying, they just put the date and sign it. So we do have something like that. We can make sure that that's shared again with students.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that I have 2 months left to go and have spoken to the attendance clerk many times and that form has never been mentioned to me suggests that the communication could be improved.
Right, and you know what, I'll work on that with the attendance clerk. I can talk to her. I mean, attendance really isn't I mean, I deal with attendance a lot, but I will mention that to the attendance clerk and make sure that I know it's a paper form, so it's not digital. Maybe she doesn't have it digital. So it does exist. I will mention it to her that she needs to put it out there so that everyone has access to it.
Daniel, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I think this is like something that Jones also needs to work on, just a little bit in general, that when talking, like discussing about the policy and all that, I think translation is a big thing, because I know how like this petition is specifically for like promoting the mental health of like BIPOC students. And so like translating like these messages, like these broad ones into like Spanish or Mandarin or Cantonese, like I think that will help a little bit, just because a lot of parents' first language isn't English or they don't know English as well. So I think translation is also a thing that needs to be pushed when pushing this information out.
Thanks, Daniel. And I couldn't agree with you more. We will definitely make sure that is done. I know with the Spanish, it's a little bit easier. The Cantonese and Mandarin, it's a little more difficult. Sometimes our teachers can help in that realm, but that's not really their job, not their full-time job, and that's cumbersome work. So we will definitely work on making sure all of this is communicated out. Okay? Thank you. I love the thumbs up. Thank you, Daniel.
Awesome. I'm just going to move us along to the next item unless there's anything else. But that was super productive discussion. So the next agenda item is to discuss what was actually brought up at the last main LSC meeting, which is the results of the SGA survey on New Eagle Days. Trinity, I don't want to put you on the spot, but would you be open to talking a little bit about those results?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so just some of the main points coming off of these slides are that a significant portion of students who were surveyed in this, and there were only about like 685 students who responded to this, so it's not a full complete survey, but about 30% of students surveyed were graded on classwork or participation during the Eagle Days, even though that was listed as an inappropriate activity for Eagle Days. About 26% of students surveyed were presented with new content that they had to learn, which was another inappropriate Eagle Day activity. And then slightly lower, about 20% of students surveyed were given additional homework. And then in a very, very small minority, about 8% of students surveyed were given test quizzes or other assessments. And these are all things that should not be happening on Eagle Days. And I think administration has communicated that and might communicate that again to staff and faculty. I do not know the breakdown by department. And not that I think another survey would be effective, because as we can see, the survey response rate is dropping, but like that would definitely be something to consider if a similar survey is ever sent out. And then out of the appropriate Eagle Day activities that were suggested by administration, the most engaging and effective one was providing extra lesson reviews. So like finding ways for students to kind of review content or just practice what they had already learned earlier in the week. That was what most students said was very helpful or engaging or effective. And then, yeah, just another main concern was that about 30% of students reported the schedule as being stressful, unproductive, and exhausting, just with the pace of switching through the different classes with only 30-minute periods, and just kind of trying to go to each class, take attendance, and then do whatever activity is there if there are any. It can be very draining, even if it's only 4.5 hours. And those are kind of the main Eagle Day concerns there.
Hey, Trinity, can I speak to your survey? Because I'm so glad that you did this survey so that it gives the administration some clarity around what activities teachers are actually doing. Because as you know, we cannot be in every Google Meet at every time to know what's going on. Even in the regular school day, you know, it's really difficult to be in every classroom at the same time to know what's going on. So I am so glad that you did that. I can assure you that Dr. Powers sent out a reminder email to the faculty to remind them that certain activities should not happen on Eagle Day. So just so you know, Dr. Powers did send that out. And I'm 100% with you. We realize the hecticness of the schedule on the Eagle Day. I mean, Eagle Day was something that, you know, we came up with in response to the students' screen time issues and the teachers' screen time issues, and because we know the remote learning environment is so different. So Eagle Day was supposed to alleviate some of that. And unfortunately, this is a case where we were no longer able to do it the way that we were doing it. So it's not that we didn't want to, believe you me. So we appreciate you constantly serving the students. I would wonder if, I know there's a potential that we may come back April 19th now, but I was wondering if maybe we could do a follow-up survey to see if things have changed for Eagle Day, you know, just to make sure that teachers are following, you know, what activities are appropriate and what shouldn't be. Like, kids shouldn't be given quizzes or tests on those days. Big assignments shouldn't be due. They shouldn't have, you know, new content and things on those days. So I also, like, Trinity, you've just been doing an amazing job this year. I mean, you're amazing anyway, but you've been doing an amazing job this year in the remote setting. But I just really want you guys to know that the school leadership, Dr. Powers, the other APs and myself, we feel you and we hear you, but there's sometimes when our hands are tied and we can't and I wish we could alleviate those, you know, check-ins, you know, you have to check in to every class. I really wish we could. So we're going to keep working on this. We're going to keep working on this. And somebody said, why not make Eagle Days just in-class work time with teachers available for questions? And I see that. And that was basically what was suggested. And like I said before, we can't monitor every class every time. I think that is going on in a lot of classes, but I think there might be some that it's not going on. So hopefully if we do a follow-up survey, we can see if teachers have revamped their plans and have been doing something different. Does that make sense, Trinity?
Yeah, definitely. And the survey would be like after Q4 starts.
Yes, I think that would be, because, you know, we have spring break and then we really only have one more Eagle Day and then we'll start Q4. And, you know, the plan is to keep the Eagle Days even with the return to the hybrid, where some students will be back in the building and some will be 100% at home. The plan is still to keep that Eagle Day.
Okay, great. Yes, then I can definitely make sure that's ready.
Thank you so much.
So in terms of enforcement, can there be a mechanism for students who see teachers violating this policy, perhaps to report to a member of this committee, so that the member of this committee could pass it on an anonymous basis so that the student didn't fear repercussions, but it could be brought to the attention of the administration so that the offending teacher could be redirected towards appropriate Eagle Day behavior?
So students can report this stuff, and students have, and when a student and or a parent for that matter report something, we always keep it anonymous. The administration always keeps it anonymous, and there should be no fear of repercussions from the administration or the teachers, because the teachers won't know. So I feel like and Trinity, I can work with you on this. We can create an anonymous Google Doc, maybe, where you can post it for SGA and all students can have access to it, because that kind of will eliminate the layers, because personnel issues like that should remain within the the school. It's not like students should be reporting to an outside source. And then if we can't, if the teacher doesn't follow the request or recommendation, then we can move from there. But I don't think it's appropriate I think the students should just report it directly to us anonymously if they choose, or we always will keep the name anonymous, always.
I know that, and maybe this wouldn't be the correct use of this resource, but the Student Voice Committee, along with the Black Student Union, collaborated to make a form for students to report any incidents that occur at school. And I'm not sure if this would qualify, because I know that the incidents that they were trying to address with this were very serious. But with this, it seems to be of the same format. If we wanted to use their form, which I believe is in the final stages of being approved, maybe that could be helpful here.
Yeah, Trinity, I think that could be helpful, but I wouldn't want to muddy the waters of that form, and people start. So I think if, we can create a Google Doc where, hey, I would like to, just about Eagle Days. Maybe we could even include this in your Eagle survey that you send out, right? And it's anonymous. You don't have to collect an email. You can send the survey out anonymously, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I mean, I think having it come straight to the school leadership is where it needs to go, because, you know, that's what we need to do. And like I said, like even if we were in school, it would be so difficult to know what's going on in every single Eagle Lab on every single day, right? So that is why we keep our door open, our phone lines open, our Google Meets open, our emails open, so that people can come and speak to us about anything, because that's what we're here for. We want this to be a positive experience for students. And I mean, students who know me personally know they can come to me and talk to me, and that I will keep everything anonymous. Many, many students have come to me about many, many things over the last year. So just keep spreading that word.
I want to wrap this up super quickly, even though it's a super productive conversation. But I just wanted to, Daniel, did you want to add one more thing, or?
My bad, no, that was from earlier. I just reporting it is what I wanted to say, and I think either like making an SGA Google form would be good, or having like Mr. Mitchell in one of his like weekly emails, which have been really helpful, by the way. Like say like just like real quick, like, hey, by the way, you can report any incidents directly to us, just making sure like students know that. And like I am thankful that like the Jones administration keeps everything confidential. Sometimes it's a little annoying when like we're nosy, but they keep everything confidential, so that's really good.
And Daniel, I am going to make a suggestion to Mr. Mitchell in that weekly email that he sends out, you know, because he always asks us what he should put in it. I will make a suggestion for him to put in like a link to a form, and that would be great. It would all be right there.
And I just wanted to voice Miss Login. Did I pronounce that correctly? Comment in the chat. Is it Lilogin?
Lilogin, yes.
Login?
Yeah,
Did you want to share?
Yeah, I just mentioned that we did have a homework committee once that was looking at the amount of homework that students were given every evening, and that maybe this committee would like to recommend having some like that type of committee formed again or looked at again. Thanks.
It's a good idea. Thumbs up. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna just, if there's nothing else on that, I know there's probably more, but I just want to move us along to our next agenda item, if that's all right with everyone. But Trinity, thank you for sharing those results with us and for all the work that you put in to getting those results, just so we do know how students are experiencing the new Eagle Days. So then the next item on the agenda is actually going to be a presentation from a student organization. Organization, is that the right word? I don't want to, I know that club was not the best word, but
Club, so far we're just listed as a club, but as I was speaking to you, Sophia, the other day, we want our influence to be more than outside of a club, or
right.
Any form doesn't really matter. Club, organization, whatever, it's fine.
Cool. Well, I just wanted to give the floor over to Florence to, oh, I can't open the presentation. Let me, oh, there may be, we have Florence from the Activists for Change in Society club here with us tonight to talk a little bit about what their club is up to and the sort of work that they do, the conversations they have. I know there may be a problem with the presentation that I was going to share with everyone. Maybe it's restricted. I'm not sure. Daniel said you couldn't open the presentation.
Yeah, whoever is the owner, whoever wants to present, you should just go to share, and then at the bottom it has like a link that you can share. Just change that to like anyone in CPS or anyone with this link can view, and then just reshare the link.
Yeah, I can try to do that now because I own this. Sorry
No, you're fine.
for this. Let me just find it really quick. Ooh. Sorry, I did not know that.
No,
it wasn't
I
being allowed
should have.
access.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to include this presentation because Florence sent it to me, and I thought when we were talking about the statement that the LSC voted on at the beginning of the month, and I just thought that this was like a really excellent presentation, and I just wanted to share it with everyone.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is able to share via Zoom by any chance?
Sure, yeah, definitely. I can do some screen sharing. Let me see. But I also think, Florence, I just wanted to like give you the floor to talk about what y'all are doing with AFCS, which is not just explicitly this presentation. So did you want to just talk a little bit about AFCS?
Yeah, I just updated the permission as Daniel said so I think it should work. But first off, hi, my name is Florence. I am a co-president and co-founder of AFCS, which stands for Activists for Change in Society. And my two other co-presidents are not here today, but they would have loved to be. Also, Josie, she is part of our club. She's our treasurer. So Josie, go ahead. You introduce yourself before I get into all of that.
Yeah, my name is Josie. I'm the treasurer for AFCS, and I think it's a great club. I joined because I'm definitely interested in becoming more active in society and changing what needs to be changed. So, yeah.
So a little bit more about AFCS. So basically, we usually have our club meetings like every other Thursday, so bi-weekly. And Sophia and Kofi are my co-presidents and co-founders. And basically what we do in preparation for these meetings is where we pick a topic that is very current right now in discussion in the news or media, anywhere else. And we ask students and our board members, which includes Josie, and we ask them, do you think this is important to talk about? Do you guys really want to talk about this? And from there on, me, Kofi, Sophia, and we create a slide presentation, much like the COVID-19 one, and we basically present it to our members, and then we have an open discussion at the end, and that's what we've done. Recently, we're working on something else that isn't very much presentation based, but that's basically what we have been doing so far until that. What else did I say, Rachel?
I mean, do you want to speak to the project that you're working on right now? Because I thought that was like a really important project.
Yes, definitely. So right now our project is aimed to help underfunded schools in Chicago, or like students who are in low income neighborhoods that need more help, because obviously there's unequal access to education throughout the city, more based on where you're from, your income, and those kind of areas in Chicago. So basically we've teamed up with another club called Writing Club / Current Events Club. And basically we've teamed up with them to find charities, organizations, or nonprofits. And so far today, we actually had a meeting where we allowed members the time to go research to these organizations and nonprofits. And basically, we came up with a list, but we're going to do more research into them. But basically, our goal is to raise money, spread awareness, and basically donate to these organizations that further help students in impoverished areas. And what we hope to aim through that is basically helping these students, because everybody deserves equal access to education, no matter what, good education that can lead them to really bright futures. And we really believe in that. And that's what we're aiming to do. And we're willing to help in any way we can, because Jones gets pretty good funding. Like, Jones is very nice. We have all the materials that we need. And I'm super fortunate for that. But at the same time, I know that other schools aren't like this, and I completely think that's unfair. So we want to help that. Josie, do you want to give your input on this? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Sure, I can. So I totally agree with obviously everything that Florence just said. Yeah, so our project, we're looking at organizations in Chicago that can really help CPS schools and like underfunded communities in order to really like aid them and help, like specifically now, especially because of the pandemic and like how it's difficult connecting in a virtual setting in school. And so like now more than ever, I think is a good time that we're doing this project.
Thank you all so much for coming and for sharing your work with us. I just have to say again how inspiring it is, just that you're taking up that research and motivated to do it and share it and have those conversations. I just think that's like, yeah, that's really, really great. That's an understatement. But um, I invite y'all to continue coming to these meetings, and I would like to incorporate y'all's work into the work that this committee does. And so that's just an open, extended invitation. But yeah, thank y'all both for coming and speaking to the presentation that you put together about racism behind COVID-19 and in particular racist rhetoric in connection to COVID-19. That presentation, I think, is a segue into the next agenda item, which is it is, yeah, an excellent presentation. The next agenda item is just an announcement, basically, in this space that the organization AAAJ Chicago has generously offered to host a bystander intervention training for the Jones School community. And that's going to be held on Monday, April 5th at 5 p.m. on Zoom. And so I just wanted to kind of share that with you all, and I have the registration link. I'm going to share in the chat now. If you're able to make it, I know it's the Monday after spring break ends, which is kind of like the worst day ever. But also things are different. Spring break's a little different this year. But that training, the concept of holding a training for the Jones community actually was born after Mr. Baster came to the LSC and asked us to support a statement condemning the uptick in attacks against Asians and Asian Americans. And so this is kind of an extension of that statement. And Cassie actually suggested that we look into maybe seeing if AAAJ could host a training for the school community. And they agreed to it, and they do it for free for LSCs, which is pretty generous. And so I highly encourage everyone who's here to attend if you're able to. I will be there, and I've invited the entire LSC to attend. And there's a really great WBEZ article about the trainings if you'd like to know more, and I can share that with you in the chat in a second. I actually don't have it pulled up right now, but that's basically that's what that agenda item is. And if anyone has any questions about what that training is going to look like, there are answers to that. But if there are no questions about that, that's happening. Okay, great. So the next agenda item is just something that I I think this committee could make a recurring agenda item, which is just to discuss the Jones CIWP. The CIWP stands for the Continuous Improvement Work Plan. And so this committee is a subcommittee of the local school council for Jones, and one of the main responsibilities for local school council members is to monitor the implementation of the CIWP. And so I personally am new to being on an LSC, but I, don't, as I'm learning and kind of taking the trainings to be an LSC member, this is something that it was brought to my attention that I didn't really understand fully. But Dr. Plunkett is actually the chair of the Jones CIWP team. And so as we move forward and LSC members kind of get caught up with where we are at, I'm just going to say that I'm glad that we have the chair of the CIWP team on the committee. And so I'm going to just share the link to the document in the chat. This is something that every school in CPS creates and then implements over a 2-year period. And then there's 6 to 15 stakeholders of the school community that are a part of creating it. I'm just sharing this. Some of you may know this information well, but just for those of y'all that don't know, I definitely did not know any of this information. And so I guess that's kind of, I just want to make sure everyone is on the same page
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, Rachel, you know what? I have a copy of a presentation I gave to the LSC before you were previously on the LSC that kind of summarizes our CIWP priorities, theories of action, whatever, that if I'm, like I said, I'm on my phone, but I can pull it up and I can try and share it with you and run through it very quickly if you like, because I think that might, and like when I say, I'm not going to go into all the details on that on this right now in the interest of time, but I can kind of share with the people who are here the process and where we ended up and what our priorities are if you'd like.
Definitely. If you'd like to do that now, I was also thinking we could do that at the next meeting.
Okay.
If you'd like, just so that.
I think in the interest of time.
Sure.
But you know what? Can I just let me see. It won't let me share. It won't let me share anything. So, but I can read it to you very quickly, and you know, and I can do a presentation at the next meeting.
Sure.
Not a problem. But so just so everyone knows is that the CIWP team, it was comprised of parents, teachers, students, and administration. There were, we had asked SGA representatives if, and other students if they wanted to be a part of the team. The departments that were represented on the team were science, math, English, social science, diverse learners, and our English language teachers. Parents were from the LSC. We had sent out a call to the LSC members, if any, well, because of course we need someone from the LSC anyway, but then also a general call to parents if they were interested. Last year, I'm being on this team. And I was pretty much the chair of it. The other administrative team members, the school leadership was involved as well. You know, last year was a really interesting year. We started off meeting in person and ended up finishing up our meetings in virtual. And so everyone knows, I mean, developing the CIWP is a process. The steps we took, I mean, the first step was like to gather different forms of data, examine data, and then there is a school excellence framework ratings that the CIWP team works on. And it's based on evidence from the data that we've gathered. And based on that, we identified areas of critical need. We set goals, and then we did a root cause analysis kind of as to why these were our areas of critical needs and why these should be our goals. We set priorities that would help us to achieve our goals. And then we created strategies, or also known as theories of actions, to address our priorities and goals. And then we created action steps for the strategies. So that is just a little bit of how the process works. Just so everyone knows, we looked at a lot of different kinds of data. We looked at SQRP data. We looked at our CPS vision metrics. We looked at 5 essential survey metrics. We did a faculty and staff survey. So I will give the more formal presentation at the next meeting, Rachel, if that's fine with you. Like you said, we want to make sure that we're efficient in our meetings, but I really do think it's important that people realize what our theories of actions are to help us get to our goals.
Thank you, Dr. Plunkett. Yes, that would be amazing to get that presentation from you at the next meeting. But for now, I really appreciate that information. Just it's super, super helpful. So thank you. So the next agenda item, and just trying to move us along here, is actually I get to stop talking for a second and hand it over to Sochi, who put together a presentation on school safety, and specifically the survey that was sent out last year to the Jones community around the school resource officer program. So I'll let you take it away, Sochi.
Thank you, Rachel. And before I start, how much time do I have for the presentation?
I mean, I would say let's try to maybe more than 5 minutes, but maybe like
Okay,
less than 10.
Is everyone able to access the presentation, or would you all like me to share it on the screen?
We can all say it. Everyone's giving thumbs up.
Okay, good, good, good. Oops, okay. Yeah, so as we all know, like last year, CPS sent out a survey trying to get a better assessment of the SRO program. So they sent it out to school community members directly related to schools and schools that had SROs in their schools. And so the participants were administrators, teachers, and staff, and students were invited to take the survey, as well as local school council members and parents. So this survey was open approximately for 2 weeks. It opened on May 26th, and the last day to respond was June 8th, 2020. Community members and general public were able to access the link through social media, and CPS ended up receiving 344 responses to the survey from those who identified in affiliation with Jones High School. And then on October 2nd, 2020, the Jones administration sent out their own school-specific SRL survey to students, parents, teachers, and staff, and this survey was conducted via Google Forms. And then our next slide, we see that the responded results. So on May 2020, we received 37 responses from admin, teachers, and LSE members, 6 responses from community members, 43 responses from parents, and 258 responses from students. In the October 2020 survey, we received 62 responses for the admins, teachers, and LSE members, 395 responses from parents, and 590 from students. I also listed in the next slide the general questions that were asked in the survey. I won't read them all for the sake of time, but I'll read a couple. So general questions asking what for participants to strongly agree or strongly disagree on the statements that were asked, such as if they believe that SROs help keep the school safe. There was a ranking question, as well as asking participants to rank what areas or actions the SRO does to help keep the school safe from greatest importance to least importance. If they met their SROs, what kind of relationships they have with their SROs. The next slide listed remaining questions, as well as to what they opinionate on the SROs and how they see them associated with disciplinary issues. If they believe that students and them have a good relationship with students, and their overall thoughts about the SRO programs. In the following slide, the data shows us the students' results. So within these surveys, we see that 43.6% of students disagree and strongly disagree when asked if they believe if SROs keep them safe. 30.5% of students agree and strongly agree when asked if they believe if SROs keep them safe, and 25.9% of students were neutral when asked this question. With staff results, we see that 30.6% of staff disagree and strongly disagree when asked if the SROs keep them safe. 56.5% of the staff agree and strongly agreed when asked if they believe if SROs keep them safe. And 12.9% of the staff were neutral when asked this question. For parent results, 7.4% of them disagreed and strongly disagreed when asked if SROs kept them safe. 66.4% of them agreed and strongly agreed when asked if SROs kept them safe, and 16% of them were neutral when asked. I looked at the general feedback from the participants, since they also had the opportunity to share other thoughts and concerns about the SROs, and a lot of them did provide feedback. These are the bullet points of the feedback they provided. A lot of them thought the survey was poorly written. Some of these questions they felt that were slightly biased to reflect positively in favor of the SROs. There was also a lot of confusion as to what SROs were. There was a lot of comments mixing them with if they were school security. They didn't really know who the SROs were. There was also a lack of understanding of what an SRO does and their involvement with discipline. This was seen a lot, especially with staff sometimes, but also students. They weren't sure what's the level of involvement an SRO does when it comes to discipline. And they also did not appreciate the ranking question. They thought it was set up poorly and only offered limited answers. So we have some recommendations. So the Health and Safety Committee would like to reach out to student organizations to gauge the interest in a student-led town hall. We're envisioning this to be a school-wide conversation with students, staff, and parents about SRLs in Jones and ways to reimagine safety. We also recommend that the school create a new SRO survey, which includes the following features: translating the survey into multiple languages, creating new questions to assure that they're not leading and more open-ended, and also separating some of the faculty responses from the staff and admin. I think there was this one question that asked if students have a good relationship with staff and admin. And you can think of staff as teachers and administration, and some staff members didn't appreciate that question. While some students do have good relationship with teachers, it's not always the case with the administration. So just making sure we're not lumping questions like that anymore. And yeah, if Rachel would like to add anything or continue on to the next slide.
Thank you, Sochi. So I just added a slide to this presentation that gives a few updates on the Chicago Board of Education actually met yesterday and gave an update to this timeline of school safety conversations. And so I just wanted to kind of briefly give an overview of that. So in August of 2020, the Board of Ed passed a resolution calling for the development of a new process to create school safety plans. And this was amidst, after several weeks of LSCs across the city being given the request to vote on this issue at their school. And so that they said at that time that by mid-March 2021, they would have a plan to present to high schools. And so in February, the district, or actually I think it was late January, the district released a press or sent out a press release. I'm gonna just link it in the chat that was actually an unprecedented initiative to involve 5 community organizations to hold a series of conversations about school safety and alternatives to school safety in our public schools. I attended a few of these and they were excellent. They were just really inclusive conversations with a lot of different stakeholders and a lot of parents and students as well. I learned a lot. But then yesterday, the board announced that these 5 nonprofit organizations will help train schools in mental health, crisis de-escalation, and restorative practices. And CPS also recently announced a program wherein they will spend $24 million over 3 years to address student trauma and mental health needs. And so that's kind of the background that I think this Health and Safety Committee could, build off of. Some questions that I included in this slide that I personally have and would like to see the district respond to at some point is, will schools receive extra money to help pay for alternatives to school police if schools decide to end their school resource officer program? That's unclear right now. I think others have asked that question. And will students be allowed to participate on the whole school safety committees that every school is going to form? And I'm going to be serving on Jones's whole school safety committee, but I guess something that I would like to know, and I guess this is a question, I don't know if Dr. Plunka, you'll be able to answer this, but if students will be able to be on that committee or not.
Yeah, I believe that there is student welcome to that committee for sure. For sure. I know that this is something that was, it's happening throughout CPS. So there will definitely be students on the committee. I know that even after the SRO vote that the LSC took last year, that there was a start. I mean, there was a committee, but it wasn't one that was like through like this whole CPS that every school has to have one. And Dr. Fay, I believe, headed up. And I believe Daniel, weren't you on that committee as well?
Yes, sorry.
Awesome. Thank you. That's helpful to know. I'm glad to hear that. Daniel, did you want to add something?
Yeah, so kind of following what Dr. Plunkett was talking about. I was on the committee when we made this survey, and the LSC had a meeting with Ms. Chow, Jadine Chow, who was the chief director of safety and security at CPS. She came to one of the LSC meetings and like gave a little informational presentation about what SROs were. But that was like before the huge spike in participation in LSC. So a lot of people saw it. And so that's why I think a lot of people were confused. But I think I agree with us, like making another survey that kind of fixes a lot of the issues that people found and translating it. But like after we have the town hall, because I think that information wasn't there when we had the first survey, which is kind of our issue. But I think now more people know, and if we have the town hall, even more people know.
Hi, Mr. Mitchell. It's good to see you. So I kind of wanted to ask the students in the call, just because we have you here. Is that something that you would be interested in seeing? I guess like a kind of like school community conversation about safety. I know we have like a small number of students here, but that is something that I was wondering about. Like, what is something that you would like to see? And I know I'm not the only one asking that question. I know this is like a question that your teachers and administrators ask you all the time, but if do you have any like thoughts on that? Is that something you don't really need, or don't mean to put you on the spot?
I can go ahead. So I definitely do think that a student-led town hall or any kind of discussion would be super helpful. I know a lot of students, especially my peers and my friends that do go to Jones, they've said that they do want to see change, but they just don't really know where to start. And I think definitely allowing students to have that kind of space to talk is definitely a start that a lot of students would be interested in. A lot of my peers have also said that they don't really know if anyone will listen if they talk. They think it'll be a waste of time, or nobody pays attention because they're just teenagers, as they would say, or that their opinions don't matter because they're young. But if it's definitely pushed for, if it's definitely encouraged, then I think a lot of students would turn out, including myself. I would love to do that. Thank you.
Hey, and Florence, thank you for saying that, because I think the more student participation and the more different views from different students that we have, the better the committee will be. So I really appreciate you being willing to do it. And, hopefully we'll be able to find some other students who would be interested, because I think it's very, very important to get a broad perspective from girls, from boys, from everybody all across the city, because Jones is a citywide school. So I think that is really, really important as we move forward with this.
I would agree with Florence. Yeah, and I'd also be interested in participating in something like that, because I think you'd definitely be really informative for students, especially like going back and stuff.
Thank y'all. That's helpful to know. And yeah, I know that, one of the reasons why Daniel, you got involved on this committee was relating to this issue. And I think it's on a lot of our minds. And so I'm just glad that CPS kind of incorporated these community conversations with these organizations to get this safety conversation started again. And so as we move forward, and the LSC, is in a position to approve or to consider a safety plan for the high school. I just want to make sure that we're like centering student voices too, and I'm able to hear them, because that's kind of what I'm going to base, the way I like approaching that conversation. And that's just, yeah. Thank you, Sochi, for putting that presentation together, just to kind of give us all an update. And so if it's all right, if there's anything else on that agenda item, if not, I'm gonna just move us to our last bit. I know we're running at around an hour, 12 minutes now, so we can wrap up soon. But the last thing I put on the agenda is just if there's any questions or comments. I wrote this agenda, or I put this agenda item on there before the announcement of the town hall that was held yesterday. And so it's kind of maybe if there's anything additional that anyone would like to just air or ask a question about, then I'd just like to give the space to do that in this meeting as we move to close, because if anything that's addressed in this committee meeting, I will bring up in the general LSC meeting in April around reopening. Sorry, I don't know if I said reopening, but that's, yeah, around reopening.
I'll make a general comment, which is that, I mean, there's thousands of questions, and I'm looking forward to the the actual town hall that Jones is committed to hosting, where we can pose those questions. But in the meantime, I mean, it's my request of Jones administration and of this committee that reopening be done with an eye towards social and emotional health. I cannot state strongly enough that where we're at in this school year, with the way these kids have suffered, we need to focus on a positive social and emotional environment. And if that means we cover a little bit less curriculum, that has got to be a-okay. The students need opportunities to be together at lunch, after school, in the hallways, et cetera, obviously following appropriate protocols about masks and distance. But that is my personal request of this committee and administration based on conversations with students and parents.
So Monica, we have already had plenty of conversations on that, and we are, as a matter of fact, even knowing that coming back to school for some of the students, just the idea of coming back into a school building is going to be stressful for some students, right? It's not that they don't want to be there, but it's going to be very different from what they've been doing. So we're already talking about how we can maybe use a little bit of time in Eagle Lab to talk about that, like kind of be proactive. And yes, we know that we do have to worry about the students' social emotional health ahead of their academics, but not in place of. But we, like, if the SEL learning isn't there, the two don't exist in silos, they exist together. So we are definitely aware of that, and we are working on things. We are also working on the possibility of some type of mini freshman orientation. Not sure what that's going to look like yet, because the freshmen have never been in the building before. Like, they've never been in the building. They've never gone from classroom to classroom. So we are definitely looking at all of that. I will say that I feel, the timing of this coming back April 19th is 2 weeks before the AP exams. So I do know that, like, I feel teachers and students alike will feel like pressure to get stuff in just for the AP exam. So I know that students and teachers are both going to feel that pressure, especially in those first 2 weeks. But the school leadership has definitely already been talking about this. How do we make this a smooth transition? How do we take care of our students once they're in the building? So that has already been on our radar.
Florence, did you want to add something?
Yeah, first going off to what Miss Lasky said, like definitely a lot of my peers have said that like a big reason why they want to go back to school is to get those peer interactions, obviously to follow and to be safe. My bad, my AirPod died. But going from that, a lot of them do really want that aspect, and that's what they felt like they missed a lot while obviously doing remote. That they missed having these connections, and it has affected their schoolwork because of, including myself. I usually when I do school, I thrive off of interacting with students and teachers personally. Like I do way better. So I think a lot of students do want to focus on that. And what going back to what Dr. Plunkett said, I do feel for the freshmen because obviously being a freshman is overwhelming enough, and then not ever being in the school and knowing where things are, that's a lot for a freshman to handle, or a sophomore going back for like basically what their first year of actual high school would be. So I think that's important too. And I'll say that I really enjoyed this meeting because a lot of students, they do want to be more involved in school. They don't really know these things, or I learned a lot of things that I didn't know. And I think more students would be interested in coming to LSE meetings and learning these things because a lot of my friends have told me that they want to know more about what the school is doing. So I definitely would be like telling my friends and my peers like, hey, this is like a meeting where students can come and talk about things and learn about things that's really important to them. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Florence.
Hey, Rachel, can I just, I mean, before we finish up, because I know there's that other meeting coming up, can I just like, as like a new member, kind of like make a suggestion that like, before we close every meeting, we just all, we take inventory of like our actionable items before we come back to the next meeting. Like I already know, I already wrote down, you know, the messaging of the attendance policy, and also creating a Google form or some type of form for students to let us know their concerns or voice their concerns anonymously around Eagle Days and Eagle Labs. So like those are two things that I know that I'm going to you know, put on my list. And I just think it's really important so that this committee actually is able to get some work done and is able to do the work, that before we leave, we talk about like actionable items and who's going to be responsible and, you know, how we're going to monitor that.
Definitely. That's a great idea. Thank you, Dr. Plunkett. Yeah, I have written down, reach out to the LSC student representative, Denaya, and share with her about kind of the discussion that's continuing the school safety and kind of looping students into the plan for that, and seeing what she thinks about what she like is hearing from students about, if she's hearing anything, just kind of check in with her. That's something that I would like to do. And I don't know if other members of the committee, if there's anything that we discussed tonight that you think you would like to act on. I know I'm gonna be sharing um, the LSC module on the CIWP with the members, just so everyone can take a look at that. It just kind of goes through what that process is, so that we can be ready, I think, better prepared for your presentation next month, Dr. Plunkett. Is there anything else before that other members might want to focus on before next month's meeting?
My focus at the moment is trying to reach out to certain organizations. I think this would be for a majority of us who are like just start reaching out, like what Florence was talking about. A lot of students are interested, but a lot of students are interested, but they don't know about us. So like start putting that word out that we're holding an event, and just also slip some information about us.
Sorry, I'm in the car. I had to transition in between. But jumping off of what Daniel said, I think that, well, I know that I want to connect more with the Jones community. And in that same breath, I want to connect more with other student organizations and the facilitators of those orgs. So more like the adults, to see how I can best support them as they're facilitating these groups through the student lens. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So Daniel, I'm gonna send you an email.
And I just want to say thank you again, Sochi, for putting that presentation together. And it was really helpful to have that to talk about. Okay, then I think if there's no other comments or questions for now, gonna just well, I mean, I apologize. We are kind of on a time limit today. Otherwise, I would open it up for more open discussion, but we have an LSE meeting in 8 minutes. But I just wanted to say before we adjourn, thank you so much to everyone who attended today and contributed to the discussions that we had. If you have any recommendations or suggestions for agenda items for next month's meeting, I'm just going to put my email in the chat. Please, anything that you'd like to discuss or bring to the committee's attention, email that to me and I will add it to the agenda for next month's meeting. And that goes for anyone who attended today. So there's no further discussion. I'm gonna motion to adjourn. I don't know if I need to motion it, but thank you all and
I
hope you have a-
second.
Second. Thank you, Dr. Plunkett. All right, we are going, that's how you do it. That's, yeah, thank you. Okay. All right, everyone have a great night. See you next month.
Bye. Thank you so much for coming.